85 people walked into the MGM Grand on November 21st, 1980. 85 people never walked out. But here's the part that still haunts fire investigators today. The flames never touched them. The fire didn't climb higher than the first floor. So why did guests on the 26th floor suffocate? Because the building was built to code. And that code was built on an assumption, a fatal, deadly assumption that smoke would behave itself. It didn't. It rose. It filled halls. It seeped under doors. And it turned luxury suites into gas chambers, while the state's own governor argued it was unfair to force hotels to upgrade their safety. Tonight, we expose the cover-up, the negligence, and the 85 lives lost to a lie that was entirely preventable. You'll never look at a hotel ceiling the same way again. But before we begin, like and subscribe. Las Vegas boasted no greater symbol of luxury than this shimmering complex of crystal and gold, the ambitious dream of movie studio royalty. Yet, on November 21st, 1980, this paradise transformed into a mass grave. 85 individuals entered but never departed. 75 of them suffocated on toxic fumes, trapped helplessly inside their own guest quarters. What caused this catastrophe? Deception. Not mere misfortune, but calculated deception, concealed through systematic cover-ups, buried within disregarded safety reports, absent from fire suppression systems never fitted, unheard in alarms that remained deathly quiet while victims gasped for their final breaths. Tonight, we reveal the deadly oversight that sealed their destiny. The state leader who resisted implementing fire prevention measures despite mounting casualties. The gamblers who continued feeding coins into machines as a massive cloud of darkness consumed the sky directly adjacent. This represents the narrative the MGM Corporation fought to suppress, the authentic account of Nevada's most catastrophic hotel fire, and the falsehood rendering it unavoidable. Before proceeding, kindly support our community by liking and subscribing. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios conceived and constructed the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino. Patterned after an extravagant lodging establishment appearing in one of their cinematic productions, this facility certainly justified its grandiose title. Its interior showcased magnificent crystal lighting fixtures alongside marble, sculptural elements, housing one of Earth's largest wagering floors, 24 drinking establishments, 8 food service venues, plus an exclusive theater presenting exclusively MGM cinematic works. The building contained an incredible 2,100 individual sleeping chambers distributed throughout 26 elevated levels. The foundation accommodated dining facilities, meeting spaces, and the expansive Grand Casino, whereas upper sections primarily contained visitor accommodations. The conflagration initiated at ground elevation within a food establishment identified as the deli. Subsequent investigation identified a malfunctioning cooling apparatus as the ignition source. Though initially contained, this flame enjoyed sufficient development opportunity prior to detection occurring near 7:10 in the morning. Tim Connor, a facility maintenance technician, encountered the burning during flooring assessment activities within the deli. He immediately alerted protection personnel before attempting suppression using handheld extinguishing equipment. Following forceful expulsion twice by pressurized atmosphere surges, accompanied by advancing smoke clouds, Connor retreated and commenced evacuation assistance. His withdrawal occurred moments preceding flashover conditions, merely minutes following initial discovery. The inferno, accelerated by sudden air infusion, swept through the dining establishment and spread across gaming zones, consuming the entire vicinity within approximately 20 seconds. Casino patrons experienced barely 60 to 120 seconds warning Duration, some utilized gathering wagering chips and belongings before heading toward emergency exits. Though the premises featured fire alert infrastructure, flames disabled this mechanism prior to activation. Supplementary notification should have reached occupants through broadcast instructions or telephone communications. However, smoke similarly forced personnel abandonment of telephone operations before message transmission. Room occupants consequently primarily recognized danger upon witnessing smoke currents beyond windows or detecting hallway shouting and commotion. Certain individuals only registered emergency when aerial vehicles drawn by massive smoke columns rising from the MGM Grand commenced circling overhead. A limited number fortunate enough exited prior to corridor atmosphere becoming impassable. Those attempting flight encountered severe obstacles. Elevator systems failed, their mechanisms destroyed by intense heat. Observing this scene, emergency responders below shouted instructions for people to stay inside their quarters and wait for help. Certain individuals found rescue through construction workers who voluntarily risked everything riding a compact mechanical lift skyward to extract victims via windows. These brave souls completed multiple journeys up and down the burning structure until excessive smoke inhalation ultimately forced cessation of efforts. Elsewhere within the facility, occupants gasping for breath shattered window panes seeking fresh air, inadvertently permitting exterior smoke to rush inward and begin suffocating them. Circumstances worsened as helicopters descended for rooftop evacuations, their rotating blades generating downward pressure, forcing smoke through broken openings. Firefighters contained the flames within hours, with combustion never progressing beyond the building's foundation level. Although the fire remained geographically contained, smoke showed no such restraint. It accumulated throughout upper regions, and precisely there, farthest from actual flames, the highest casualty concentration occurred. Numerous victims died inside their quarters, some reportedly using cosmetic applicators to inscribe final messages upon reflective surfaces. Various individuals survived by pressing fabric barriers against door perimeters and maintaining windows completely sealed. Remarkably, certain survivors remained completely unaware of catastrophe magnitude. Rescue personnel systematically clearing each level discovered one deceased couple embracing eternally in one chamber, while adjacent quarters contained living occupants, casually consuming spirits while awaiting extraction. Helicopter transportation rescued numerous incident survivors. This represented preferable evacuation methodology, given persistent smoke contamination within lower building sections, even following fire suppression. Deceased individuals were removed once conditions permitted safe entry. Available mortuary capacity quickly reached maximum, requiring refrigerated transport vehicles for remains pending identification procedures. Medical treatment facilities for approximately 650 injured individuals were established within neighboring gambling establishments, areas reluctantly abandoned by dedicated players who continued feeding machines while the Grand burned opposite. Combined fatalities reached 85 individuals resulting from the MGM Grand Hotel fire, with 75 attributable to smoke inhalation. Subsequent investigation revealed both ignition source and multiple regulatory deficiencies. Fire safety examiners had documented numerous critical structural insufficiencies during earlier months. At incident moment, merely 20% of identified concerns received corrective action. Specifically, fire suppression systems remained absent from both the gambling floor and dining establishment where combustion initiated. These areas originally qualified as exposed, consistently occupied environments, therefore legally exempt from sprinkler requirements. Under presumption, flames would receive immediate detection and extinguishment. However, operational patterns gradually shifted. The deli ceased round-the-clock food service operations, yet suppression equipment remained omitted. Conditions transformed while existing infrastructure stayed static. Furthermore, deficient sealing within environmental control systems permitted smoke migration throughout entire structure rather than restricting contamination to single elevations. Warning mechanisms similarly proved outdated and insufficient for facilities matching MGM grand proportions. These represented characteristics prohibited within contemporary hotel construction, though the MGM grand emerged during periods featuring less rigorous requirements. Even following disaster, one state leader maintained impossibility and unreasonability in demanding existing structures undergo retrofitting to standards non-existent during original construction. Flames required hours for extinguishment. Falsehoods demanded decades for exposure. Smoke and administrative indifference erased 85 human lives. 75 individuals suffocated not through raging fire, but through governmental declarations deeming unreasonable the correction of deficiencies permitted by outdated codes. Because fire suppression remained omitted from dining establishments, terminating 24-hour operations. Because warning systems designed for previous generations remained mute. Because financial considerations superseded protective measures. So here we are, more than 4 decades later. The MGM Grand still stands, though you'd barely recognize it today. They changed the name. They changed the facade. They changed everything except the one thing that mattered most: the truth. Because here's what still keeps investigators awake at night. The fire was contained in hours. But the lies took decades to surface. And even now, questions remain unanswered. How many more inspection reports were buried? How many more corners were cut in hotels that still stand today? How many buildings in your city operate on the same fatal assumption that it won't happen here, that it won't happen today? The victims of November 21, 1980 didn't die because a refrigerator malfunctioned. They died because paperwork mattered more than people. Because a governor decided retrofitting old buildings was unfair to owners. Because somewhere someone did the math and decided that paying fines was cheaper than installing sprinklers. 85 lives, 75 suffocated, and the slot machines across the street never stopped ringing. If that doesn't haunt you, nothing will. But here's my question to you. How many hotels have you slept in where you've never checked for the nearest exit? Where you've assumed the alarms would work? Where you've trusted that someone else already fixed what was broken? Let me know in the comments below. Because the fire at the MGM Grand didn't just burn down a building. It burned through every illusion we have about safety. And until we stop looking away, we're all just guests in a building waiting for a fire that shouldn't happen. Thanks for watching. Stay curious. And next time you check into a hotel, look up. Look for the sprinkler, because someone somewhere already paid for it with their life.